All right, everybody. So like I said, we're going to go a little bit faster at the beginning here today. I'm probably just going to read through the goal so we can get going. We have 3 full chapters to read today. We're going to go from chapters 18 all the way to 20. And we're getting to the good part of the story right now, or the part where Sistine and Rob has shown Sistine the tiger, and they kind of have this debate going about whether or not they should set the tiger free. And where we left off was Sistine's mom came and picked her up from Rob's house after Sistine had said they need to set the tiger free. So our goal today is going to be to practice jotting notes more, trying to find the important stuff and writing down notes for chapters 18 to 20. Probably not going to stop as often today, but we'll take minutes definitely to write things out. So when we're really quickly before we start, I'm going to give you just a minute to label the Tiger Rising chapters 18 to 20 in your notebook. So I should see people getting their notebooks out, going to that whole group tab, right in the whole group tab, just right where we left off last week with the Tiger Rising, and label it chapter 18 through 20 and put the date. And I'm going to give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to do that. And then we're going to get started on reading the book. So you have 1 minute and 30 seconds. The Tiger Rising, chapters 18 to 20. Then put the date 9-14. Or if you like to write out the word, September 14th. Thirty more seconds. All right. If you're still taking time to write down, that's fine. But I'm going to start reading chapters 18 to 20. Here we go. Rob was sweeping the cement walkway in front of the Kentucky Star Rooms when Beauchamp pulled up in his red Jeep and honked the horn. "Hey there," he hollered. Beauchamp was a large man with orange hair and an orange beard and a permanent toothpick on the side of his mouth. The toothpick waggled as he talked, as if it was trying to make a point of its own. "We got you on the payroll now, too?" Beauchamp shouted. "No, sir," said Rob. "All right," hooted Beauchamp. He hopped out of the Jeep. "Got you working for free. That's what I like to hear." "Yes, sir," said Rob. "Ain't you supposed to be in school, or you done graduated already or something?" The gold chains were buried deep in Beauchamp's orange chest hair, and they were winking at Rob. "I'm sick," said Rob. "Sick and tired of school, right?" he said, and he slapped Rob on the back. "Don't you got a mama putting down the rules for you, do you? Get to make your own, or don't got a mama putting down rules for you, do you? Get to make your own rules?" "Not me," said Beauchamp. He jerked his head in the direction of the motel office, where his mother, Ida Bell, worked the front desk. He winked at Rob and then looked to the left, then right. "Look here," he said in a quieter voice. "I got me a number of deals going on right now, a few more than I can properly handle. I wonder if a smart boy like yourself wouldn't be looking for a way to pick up a little bit of extra spending money." He didn't wait for Rob to answer. "Let me tell you what I got cooking. You like animals?" Rob nodded. "Of course you do," said Beauchamp, nodding with him. What boy don't like animals?" "You like wild animals?" he said in a softer voice. Rob's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly knew where Beauchamp was headed. "I got me a wild animal," said Beauchamp. "I got me a wild animal like you would not believe. Right here on my own property, and I got some plans for him, big plans. But in the meantime, he needs some taking care of, some daily maintenance. You following me, son?" "Yes, sir," said Rob. "All right," said Beauchamp. He slapped Rob on the shoulder again. "Why don't you climb on into this Jeep and let me take you for a ride, show you what I'm talking about." "I'm supposed to be sweeping," said Rob. He held up the broom. "Says who?" said Beauchamp suddenly angrily. "Your daddy? He ain't the boss. I'm the boss. And I say let's go. And then you say all right." "All right," said Rob. He looked over his shoulder, wishing fervently that Willie May or his father would appear to save him from Beauchamp, knowing at the same time that he could not be saved, that he was on his own. "Good," said Beauchamp. "Now climb on up." Rob climbed into the passenger seat of the Jeep, and there was a big brown grocery bag at his feet. "Go on and put that in the back," said Beauchamp as he swung into the driver's seat. The bag was heavy, and it stunk. Rob carefully put it on the floor in the back and then noticed his hands. There was blood all over his fingers. That's just from the meat, said Beauchamp. It won't hurt you none. He cranked the engine and it roared to life, and they went tearing around behind the Kentucky Star and into the woods. Beauchamp drove like he was crazy. He gunned for trees and then swerved away from them at the very last minute, whooping and hollering and laughing the whole time. You ain't going to believe what I got to show you, Beauchamp hollered at him. No, sir, said Rob. What? Beauchamp shouted. No, sir, Rob shouted back. I ain't going to believe it. But he did believe it, and he believed it with all his heart. He knew exactly where Beauchamp was taking him. All right, anything that was chapter 18 that we should write down from chapter 18, raise your hand. Ania, go ahead and unmute your.
Rob wanted Willie Mae or Champ because he already knew where he was going to take him, and he didn't want to get in the Jeep, but he got in the Jeep because he didn't know what Champ would do to him.
Okay, so Rob was worried about Beauchamp, what Beauchamp might be doing. I gotta remember how to spell his name. I think I know, but I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah, it's like Beau, Champ. Now, we don't know. He hasn't said for sure yet, but we can probably guess where is Beauchamp taking him and what's he going to have Rob do? Raise your hand if you think you know. We can kind of make that prediction. Asil, what do you think?
I think Beauchamp is taking Rob to the Tiger.
Yep. How do you know that that's where he's probably taking him?
Because he said he couldn't believe it, and he said it was an animal, and I think Rob saw only one animal. Well, and I think he recognized where they were going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going through the woods right towards where the tiger is, and then he told him he's got a wild animal that needs taken care of. So we can probably predict he's taking the tiger. Probably going to have Rob ask Rob to do something about taking care of the tiger. We're not sure yet, so let's keep reading. Chapter 19. Beauchamp hit the brakes suddenly. We're almost there, he said. You got to close your eyes so it's a surprise. Rob closed his eyes and the Jeep went forward slowly. Don't cheat now, Beauchamp said. Keep them eyes closed. Yes, sir, Rob said. All right, Beauchamp said finally. Go on and open them up. He had pulled the Jeep up as close to the tiger cage as possible without driving right into it. Tell me what you see, he crowed. Tell me what is before your very eyes. A tiger, said Rob. He let his mouth drop open, and he tried to look excited and amazed. Darn straight, said Beauchamp. King of the jungle, and he's all mine. Wow, said Rob. You own him? That's right, said Beauchamp. Fellow I know owed me some money, paid me with a tiger. That's the way real men do business, and tigers. He come complete with the cage and all. The toothpick on the side of his mouth danced up and down, and Beauchamp put a finger up to steady it into its silence. What are you going to do with him now? Rob asked. I'm studying my options. I figured I could set him up out front of the Kentucky Star, have him draw me some more business into the motel. The tiger stood and stared at Beauchamp. Beauchamp looked away from him. He tapped his thick fingers on the steering wheel. I also might just kill him, Beauchamp said, and skin him and make me a tiger coat. I ain't made up my mind yet. He's a lot of work, I'll tell you that. He needs meat twice a day. That's where you come in. I need you to come out here and feed him. $2 every time you do it. How's that sound? Rob swallowed hard. How do I get the meat in the cage, he asked. Beauchamp dug into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. With these, he said. He shook the keys and gave them a sad little jingle. Don't pay no attention to the big keys. They're for the locks on the door. Open them up and the tiger will get out and eat you for sure. Do you understand me? I ought not to give you the whole set, but I know you won't open that door, right? You ain't no fool, are you? Rob was terrified that the keys to the cage existed and that they were about to be handed to him. And then he nodded. See this tiny key, Beauchamp said? Rob nodded again. That's for the food door right there. Beauchamp pointed to a small door at the bottom of the cage. You just open that latch up and toss the meat in one piece at a time, like this. Beauchamp swung himself out of the Jeep with a grunt. He reached in the back seat for the grocery bag, took out a piece of meat, bent over, and unlocked the tiny door. He opened it and threw the meat in. The tiger leaped forward, and Beauchamp took a quick step backward and stumbled. "That's all there is to it," he said, straightening up. His forehead was shiny with sweat, and his hands were starting to tremble. "He ain't got a name. You got to name something before you toss it. He ain't got a name. You got to name something before you toss it a piece of meat." Rob shrugged and blushed. He bent over to scratch his legs so that he wouldn't have to look at Beauchamp's sweaty, angry face. "You want to get introduced proper?" said Beauchamp in a mocking voice. "Well then, get on out of the Jeep." Rob climbed down, and Beauchamp grabbed hold of the fence and shook it. The tiger looked up from his meat. His muzzle was red with blood, and he stared at Beauchamp with a fierce look in his eyes that was familiar to Rob. "Hey," Beauchamp shouted, "you see this boy here?" And then he pointed at Rob. "He's your meal ticket, not me. It's this boy. He's got the keys now. Understand me? I don't got them no more. This boy's got them. He's your boy." The tiger stared at Beauchamp a minute more, and then he slowly lowered his head and started back to work on eating the meat. "Now you two know each other," said Beauchamp. He pulled out a tattered bandana from his pocket and wiped the sweat off his forehead. On the hair-raising ride back to the Kentucky Star, Rob realized who the tiger's stare reminded him of. The tiger's stare reminded him of Sistine's stare. He knew that when he told her he had the keys to the cage, her eyes would glow with the same fierce light. He knew what she would insist now that Rob had the keys to the tiger's cage. All right, that was chapter 19. We have one more to read. Anything else we want to add to our notes based on that chapter? There was some good stuff I think we need to write down for sure. Somebody I've not heard from. Jay, what's something you think we might need to write down from that chapter?
That he got hired to feed the tiger.
Yeah, so Beauchamp is going to pay Rob to feed the tiger. Why do you guys think he's going to do that? Why do you think he wants Rob to feed the tiger? There were kind of some clues in there the way Beauchamp was acting about why he might want Rob. Michael, what do you think?
Didn't you say why he wanted to feed the tiger?
They didn't say why, but they kind of gave some clues. They were kind of like hidden in there about why he might want Rob to do it instead of doing it himself. Anybody catch some of those clues? Asil, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if this is right, but he did say, "Hey, don't open the cage," and he might know that he's gonna open the cage because he heard him say he's gonna make a fur coat of the tiger.
He definitely doesn't want the tiger to get out, but when he fed the tiger, it said he got real sweaty, his hands were trembling, he got kind of shaky. What does that tell us about how he might have been feeling? Ania?
Nervous.
That he was kind of scared, so he gave the job to Rob.
Yeah, it kind of feels like he's scared of this tiger that he has, so he gave the job to Rob. I think there's one more thing we should write down. What did Beauchamp give him? That seems like it's going to be pretty important moving forward in the story. Cynthia, I saw your hand up. What did he give him?
The key.
Yeah, Rob has the keys to the cage, right? And now it says Rob's worried about telling Sistine that. Why do you think Rob's worried about telling Sistine that? Somebody I've not heard from yet today. Why is Rob nervous about talking to Sistine now that he has the keys? Clay, what do you think?
I'm still writing down.
Okay. Let's see. Somebody I've not heard from. Denise, why do you think Rob might be nervous about having the keys to the cage?
Because like the animal is like a tiger, and he's worried if like the tiger is gonna like attack him.
So he could be worried about getting attacked by the tiger if he lets him out. He's really more nervous about Sistine, though, right? Because what does Sistine want to do? Anybody come on mute. What's Sistine want to do? Guadalupe, I saw you.
Let the tiger go.
Yeah, right. He wants to let Sistine wants to let the tiger go. Now he's got these keys. Like before, they would have had to try to break the locks. Now he can just unlock the door and let the tiger go, right? So once he doesn't want to tell Sistine he's got these keys because she's going to probably insist, hey, we need to open this cage and let the tiger go. If you're still writing down, that's fine. You can keep writing. I'm going to start reading chapter 20. The last thing Beauchamp said to Rob was, don't forget now, this is our business deal. It don't concern nobody else. You take that bag of meat, you hide it somewhere, and I'll bring you more meat tomorrow. In the meantime, you keep your mouth shut. At 3 o'clock, the school bus pulled up, and it was belching and gasping and sighing. Norton and Billy Three Mongers started pelting Rob with date palms before the bus even came to a complete stop. The bus door opened, and Sistine came running toward him, dodging the dates, looking as serious as a soldier on a battlefield. Let's go see the tiger, she shouted at him immediately. Rob was dismayed to see that she was still wearing his shirt and his jeans. Where's your dress, he blurted out. In here, she said. She held up the same grocery bag he had given her the night before. I changed as soon as I got out of the house. My mother doesn't know. I found a book in the library today and read about big cats. Do you know that panthers live in the woods here? We should set the tiger free and he could live with them. Come on, she said. She started to run. Rob ran too, but the keys to the cage felt heavy in his pocket and they bumped against his leg and slowed him down so that Sistine could beat him there. When he arrived, she was standing pressed up against the fence. Her fingers were wrapped in the chain link. Tigers are an endangered species, you know, she said. It's up to us to save him. Watch out he don't attack you, Rob said. He won't. Tigers only attack people if they're desperately hungry. Well, this one ain't hungry. How do you know? Sistine asked, turning around and looking at him. Well, said Rob, he ain't skinny, is he? He don't look starved. Sistine stared at him hard, and Rob opened his mouth and let the word fall right out. Keys, he said. Every secret, magic word he had ever known, tiger and cancer and Caroline, every word in his suitcase seemed to fall right out of him when he stood in front of Sistine. What? She said. Keys, he said again, shaking his head. He cleared his throat. I got the keys to the cage. How? Beauchamp, he told her. He hired me to feed his tiger, and he gave me the keys. All right, said Sistine. Now all we have to do is open up the locks and let him go. No, said Rob. Are you crazy? She asked him. It ain't safe. It ain't safe for him. My friend Willie Mae, she hit a bird and let it go, and it just got ate up right away. You're not making sense, she told him. This is a tiger, not a bird. And I don't know who Willie Mae is, and I don't even care. You can't stop me from letting this tiger go. I'll do it without the keys. I'll saw the locks off myself. Don't, said Rob. Don't, she mocked back. And then she spun around and grabbed hold of the cage and shook it, the same way Beauchamp had earlier that day. I hate this place, she said. I can't wait for my dad to come get me. When he gets here, I'm going to make him come out here and set this tiger free. That's the first thing we'll do. She shook the cage harder. I'll get you out of here, she said to the pacing tiger. I promise. She rattled the cage as if she were the one who was locked up. The tiger paced back and forth without stopping. Don't, said Rob. But she didn't stop. She shook the cage and beat her head against the chain link, and then he heard her gasp. He was afraid that maybe she was choking for a minute. He went and stood next to her, and he saw that she was crying. Crying. Sistine was crying. He stood beside her, terrified and amazed. When his mother was alive, when he still cried about things, she had been the one who comforted him. She would cup her hand around the back of his neck and say to him, You go on and cry. I got you. I got you. Before Rob could think whether it was right or whether it was wrong, he reached out and he put his palm on the back of Sistine's neck. He could feel her pulse beating in the same pace with the tiger pacing back and forth. He whispered to her the same words his mother had whispered to him. I got you, he told her. I got good hold of you. Sistine cried and cried, and she cried as if she would never stop, and she did not tell him to take his hand away. That is the end of chapter 20. My first reading group, I know we're going to go a little over, and that's okay. What do you think we should write down for that last chapter? What are some notes we should write down? Michael.
That Sistine feels like that her and her dad is going to get the tiger out the cage and set it free somewhere.
So Sistine thinks she'll free the tiger with her dad?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say set it free no matter what. All right, and there's one more thing I think is super important that we just read right there at the end. That's kind of stands out big time. What do you? Somebody I've not heard from. Somebody I've not heard from at all today. Alejandro, what happens there at the end of the chapter that seems pretty important? Make sure you unmute yourself, sir. We can't hear you. I know you're unmuted. We can't hear you. Let's see.
That
There we go. What was happening right there at the end?
Rob was coughing as a sting.
Yeah, right. Sistine starts crying. And Rob comforts her. Right? Just like his mom used to do for him. So your job today when you go out is going to be 2 questions about what we just read. Maybe my thing will catch up. I'm getting the spinning wheel on my screen. There we go. So there are 2 questions you're going to answer today on Canvas. There are, I'm going to look at my list here. How many people in this meeting? There are 22 of you in here right now with us. Actually, there may be 21 if there's one more adult. I can't tell. Just do it. So there's 21 of you. That means I should see 21 people log off and get this work done today because you were here for the lesson. Number 1 is, why does Sistine break down crying when Rob won't let the tiger go? Use details, right? You're going to have to come up with, why do you think? There's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. The book did not tell us exactly what was wrong. You have to try to figure it out. The second question is, how does Rob comfort Sistine when she breaks down crying? All right, I'm going to